Hey, Nana. Remember the first time we met? You know how I believe in things like fate? Well, I think that was fate. You can laugh if you want.
Nana is up there with the greats. It's a shoujo manga written by Ai Yazawa, the author of Paradise Kiss and Neighborhood Story. It was serialized from 2000 to 2009 before going on hiatus due to the author contracting a sudden illness, the details of which she would not share. Nana has received an anime and 2 live-action adaptations, while the manga has 50 million copies in circulation, which is a massive feat. The story follows 2 young women of the same name, Nana, who meet on a train going to the same place. They become fast friends and their lives intertwined. It's one of my favorite series. I remember coming across it on an on-demand channel. I watched the first 4 episodes and immediately knew it was going to be a banger. I went to the library and started reading the series, as anime wasn't as readily available as it is today, and I instantly fell in love with it. The series is character-driven. The anime takes episodes introducing its characters, laying the groundwork for them to meet and connect with one another on a meaningful level, and it shows you the choices they made to bring them to that point. Nana puts its characters first, and I feel like there aren't too many series that do that well. When going back to review episodes for this script, in no time at all, I was engrossed in the viewing. It doesn't matter what episode, I just kept watching and easily forgot that I was trying to write. For me, there's always something new to pick up on, facial features, small jokes, or the music. It's been almost 15 years, and I'm still finding new things to appreciate that I didn't notice before. I mentioned before that this story follows 2 characters named Nana Osaki and Nana Komatsu. If I were to single out a word to describe Nana Osaki, it would be prideful. She was abandoned by her mother in her youth and raised in an abusive household, and those circumstances are a major influence for how she carries herself. Osaki doesn't want to seem weak to anyone, developing an aloof and strong demeanor. Her goal is to make it big in Tokyo with her vocal talents. Nana Komatsu, on the other hand, is a naive woman with a relatively normal upbringing. She's easily infatuated with men and blames every inconvenience in her life on the Demon Lord. Her motivation for moving to Tokyo was to be closer to her boyfriend and other friends. Going forward, I'll refer to this Nana as her nickname, Hachi. Both of them introduce a few major players into the story. Hachi introduces Junko, Kyosuke, and Shoji. Junko, my Nubian queen. She's sort of like Hachi's support system, often scolding her and sometimes being the voice of reason for her. But at sometimes, it feels like she has too much influence over Hachi's actions for how little she's in her life. Kyosuke is Junko's boyfriend, who sometimes plays devil's advocate when it comes to Hachi. Shoji is Hachi's boyfriend at the start of the series, and he is a bum-ass nigga and should be treated as such. After a few days of being with Hachi in Tokyo, he starts to get sick of her being around all the time and suggests that she gets her own apartment. I know if a cute girl moves somewhere to be with me, I'm never letting her out of my sight. We see less of these characters as the story develops, and the anime plays into this with the Junko's Room recap episodes, where minor characters show up and Junko and Kyosuke retell events. Shoji is often away due to work, school, or because he, as Hachi describes, is seeing a fake Sachiko, a nobody that she made up to playfully joke about him cheating on her with. However, one day he actually meets a Sachiko. She's a coworker who he befriends and eventually starts to cheat on Hachi with. At 14, I thought this was god-tier foreshadowing, but now instead, I just laugh because Hachi manifested this shit, spoke her into existence, and even got the name right. Kyosuke ran into Shoji and Sachiko vibing and told Junko about it, and they didn't immediately tell Hachi to prepare for the worst, and for that, I still have hate in my heart for both of them. Nana O introduces her bandmates, Yasu and Nobu. There is a third, Shin, but Nana isn't the one who introduces him. Together they make up the band Black Stones, or Blast for short. Yasu is a kind, considerate, and mature young adult, and the most dependable being in fiction. If I asked him to help pay my rent because I'm falling behind, he would bend over backwards to help me out, and I don't even know the guy. He often plays support to Nana, whether she needs him to or not. He's Blast's drummer. Nobu is Blast's songwriter and guitarist, and came to Tokyo to play with Nana. He fills the role of comic relief. He's very serious about his music and his friends, and he's the friend that Nana has maintained for the longest. Lastly, we have Shin. He's the most mysterious of the main characters. We don't know a whole lot about him, other than the fact that he's Japanese and Swedish. Also, he gets around. He plays innocent or childlike, but is one of the more perceptive characters. I think it's really interesting that Shin is the only main character who isn't introduced by Nana or Hachi Hachi. Hachi learns that Nana used to date Ren, the guitarist for a reoccurring band in the background, Trap Nest, and arranges for them to see Trap Nest in concert with the hopes of the two of them reconnecting. Trap Nest is then introduced as actual characters rather than this larger-than-life pop band. Not only did Nana used to have a relationship with Ren, but they're also ex-bandmates. He left her behind to pursue a better musical opportunity as Trap Nest guitarist. Takumi the bassist is one of the most petty characters in anime. Petty and manipulative. It doesn't matter who or what you are to him. He will do anything to screw you over and get his way. I realized bro was a menace when he ate a raw tomato. Who does that? Reira, the lead singer, is often presented in a way that's marketable or held to an impossible standard. This often leads to her feeling isolated. She acts out despite being a whole-ass adult. I repeat, a whole-ass adult. Naoki is the drummer, and he's irrelevant, so I'm moving on. There are a few character relationships I want to go more into detail about. The first being the relationship between Nana and Hachi. Though it may not be romantic, they are in love with one another. They have a bond more intimate than normal friends could ever have. They depend on one another, and so long as they have each other, they don't need anyone else. All the bad stuff that happens to them only happens when they're apart. Nana and Ren, they also have love for one another, but can't go great lengths without seeing one another, and it's not exactly healthy for either of them. Nana holds a lot of resentment towards Ren for leaving her behind for Trap Nest. Then we have Nana and Reira. They don't directly interact, but Nana is put off by Reira because she stole Ren from her. Not romantically, but musically. This leads to a rivalry with Trap Nest that can seem petty at times. Lastly, Hachi and Shin. Hachi usually plays the child in most of her relationships, but it's different with Shin. Shin isn't used to having someone thinking about his well-being, and she does. She has a maternal relationship with him. With this being a series I absolutely love and am heavily nostalgic for, I want to do right by it, but I'm not sure I can give it the justice it deserves. If you've made it this far and haven't watched Nana, please go watch it or read it. I'm gonna summarize the events of the anime, and it won't be perfect, but I'll do my best. The first OP sets the stage, telling us that this is a show about music, and that there are two female leads. It also shows various locations in which the story unfolds, and it does it with excellent cinematography. I feel like it does a good job of showing us that the two girls are connected, but it heavily leans on Nana Osaki, almost like they're beating us over the head with a guitar. This is a music show. Nana and Hachi meet on a train heading to Tokyo. After some introductions and conversation, as they are seated next to each other, they toast to their new lives in the city. Shoji picks up Hachi from the station, and our heroines go their separate ways. After a minor altercation with Shoji, Hachi starts looking for her own place. She goes to see an old apartment, and guess who's looking at it too? They decide to become roommates and quickly start to bond. And while they were out shopping, Hachi picks up these two strawberry glasses whose significance is shown later on. Hachi finds a job, and Nobu moves to Tokyo with a new song for Nana and wants to start the band over, as it was disbanded with her move. It was after hearing the two perform this song that I feel like Hachi fell in love with Nana. Hachi puts up a flyer for a bassist. Seeing it, Shin decides to join the band. Afterwards, Yasu decides to move to Tokyo to also be a member. Hachi gets a new job at an office, and her boyfriend begins to hang out with another girl. And it's around here that Kyosuke learns about this affair and tells Junko, and they don't tell Hachi. When she does eventually find out, she wants nothing to do with Shoji. After this, Hachi becomes really beat up, dejected, and insecure, questioning her importance to and relationship with Nana, taking it out on Masato, who is Nana's biggest fan. Later, after apologizing to Masato spills the beans about Nana and Ren's past to Hachi, who tries to set them back up by taking her to a Trap Nest concert. This sort of gives Hachi new hope, and she decides to give love another chance. Nana fumbles the bag at a house party by introducing Hachi to Takumi, who she has a crush on. Hachi and Nobu go out to pick up booze, and they start to crush a little on each other, but nothing comes of it. Hachi gets fired from her office job and gets a call from Takumi, who's stuck in traffic. She meets up with him, and he takes her to a hotel, and he beats them cheeks before leaving on tour. This opening feels a lot more balanced when it comes to the Nanas. The shots and symbolism for what's next to come is really creative. When that shadow is cast over Takumi, chef's kiss. Beautiful. I like the duality of this opening, showing that Trap Nest is way more relevant than before, and that's represented by Blast being on one side and Trap Nest being on the other, because they're rivals in a sense. And also, Reira is singing in this opening rather than Nana. Hachi starts working at a temp agency and wonders if Takumi is ever gonna hit her up again. At the tour after party, Takumi brags about shagging Hachi, and Nobu and Shin don't really care for that. And it was at this moment that he made up his mind that he was gonna keep giving Hachi the business. He wasn't interested in round 2 until until he found out that Nobu was into her. Nana walks in on Takumi and Hachi kissing and runs to Yasu because Trapness keeps taking everything she cares about. Nobu indirectly confesses his love to Hachi while leaving her place. Sheen starts providing his services to Reira, and Blast gets scouted by Gaia Music. Nobu later visits Hachi and declares his love for her, and she starts to wonder if she feels the same way about him. Nana starts staying over at Ren's place. This is a massive catalyst for Hachi feeling alone. They become like passing ships. Takumi shows up and literally cucks Nobu, which makes Hachi not want to see the band rehearsing, and that alienates her from Nana. Hachi and Nobu kiss, and she makes up her mind to break it off with Takumi, even though they were never really dating. Hachi yells at Takumi over the phone and thinks that's enough to make him stop coming around. L Hachi moment. All she had to do was say that it was over and that it's not working for her. After this, she becomes Nobu's girlfriend. Nana admits that she's been using Nobu to keep Hachi around. Honestly, there isn't really a good reason for this because Nana and Hachi had a stronger bond. Hachi starts feeling sick and takes a pregnancy test, and it's positive. Takumi shows up to the apartment and finds out that Hachi is pregnant. She says she's gonna get an abortion, but mentions that it could also be her boyfriend's, and the menace awakens. Takumi locks himself in Hachi's room and calls Nobu from her phone, informing him of the pregnancy, and if she decides to keep the baby, he's raising it as his child and will provide for the both of them. Hachi and Nobu finally get a chance to speak, and all Hachi can do is apologize for not really breaking it off with Takumi, and this is where their relationship dies. Nana struggles to be there for Hachi through this situation. Conflicted on what to do, Hachi goes to see Jun and Kyosuke. And they talk about what she's gonna do next. Hachi decides to keep the baby and let Takumi provide for them. She tells this to Takumi, and he asks her to marry him, and he whisks her away to isolate her and make her depend on him. When Nana gets home, Takumi tells her that Hachiko will be moving out and that they're going to be living together. In a fit of rage, Nana slams her hand on the table, knocking over one of the strawberry glasses, and then she deliberately drops the other one so that they can be broken together. Nana stays at Ren's place for a little while after this, and by the time she comes back, Hachi is gone and left behind a letter that basically says she cherished the time that they lived together and that she hopes the band will blow up so she can see them all the time. This is the weakest of the openings. There are a few significant shots and images, but it's mostly just Nana performing. In the final act of the show, Nana's band starts to take off, and not much is going on with Hachi. It's not my favorite, but it's nice to see that Nana's dreams are finally coming true after 30 plus episodes. Nana and Ren get photographed together, which forces Gaia to release blast music. Nana tries to see Hachi at her new apartment, and they miss each other. After the paparazzi finds out where Nana lives, they ask her for a statement, and she uses this as an opportunity to tell Hachi that she's gonna make all of her dreams come true. Blast moves into Gaia's dorms to get away from the paparazzi, and Nana, in a conversation with Nobu, has a panic attack because she's realizing that she's self-seeking and that her new motivation in musical success for Hachi doesn't coincide with the headspace for the rest of the band. She's lost sight of what they were working so hard for. Shortly after, Blast does a pop-up concert to promote their debut single, and Hachi watches them from afar. I really like this scene because even if things can't go back to like how they were before, they're still friends and they still love and support one another. We find out that Ren has a drug problem through an interaction that he has with Yasu. I feel like we didn't have enough context for this, and honestly it comes out of nowhere, especially because of the drug that he's supposedly on. Afterwards, in an effort to do better for himself and the person he cares for the most, he asks Nana to marry him. Hachi invites Nana and everyone to see the fireworks festival, and on the way to the festival, Hachi bumps into Shoji, and they finally bring closure to what happened in their relationship. The last episode shows us a glimpse into the future, with Hachi and her daughter going to the old apartment and meeting up with Nobu and Yasu to go to the fireworks festival. This parallels the present day story. Having closure with Shoji makes Hachi anxious about how things ended with Nobu. Nobu and Nana get into it, and he doesn't end up going to the festival. At the festival, Nana tells Hachi that Nobu stepped aside so that she could be happy, and that if she ends up sad, it will have all been for nothing. She also tells her what she can expect in her new life with Takumi. She was the fool who fell in love with him, so she's got to deal with it. It's been an experience revisiting the series and these characters after nearly 15 years. When I was younger, I liked Hachi a lot and thought that she was really relatable and could do no wrong, and that Takumi was the bad guy. As I grew up, I realized that Hachiko was at fault for her poor communication skills and decision making. She whiffed hard, choosing security over love. Takumi is definitely still the bad guy though. Throughout the series, both Nanas change and grow, and we're shown that there is more depth and complexity to these characters. They aren't one note. Nana Osaki is way more vulnerable than we're initially led to believe. This being a series revolving around two bands and music in general, you know that the music is beyond fire. The songs definitely feel like they were written by the characters, and this is a feat that could only be accomplished by a competent production team or working very close with the mangaka to get the right vision. Luckily, we had both, and they knocked it out of the park. At the end of each episode, a rendition of the ending songs play, and it makes the emotional scenes hit that much harder. I'd always hear people talk about how Nana is a realistic depiction of young adult life, and I'd laugh to myself thinking that moving to a major city and getting knocked up by a pop star or becoming a rock star in less than 6 months is so unrealistic. But none of that is what makes it realistic. What does is the consequences. The fact that the characters have to pay for their actions is what makes it stand out. The reoccurring Hey Nana and Hey Hachi bits is proof of that. In hindsight, they realized what their insecurities and shortcomings made of their lives. There's been a resurgence in Nana lately, in part thanks to High Dive licensing the series. It's been remastered, made available to stream, got physical media, and Viz has reprinted the manga, all of which is very appreciated, especially for longtime fans. Will it come back? Probably not at this point, but we can dream. My only gripe is that part of me will always want it to come back, unless there's word of a cancellation. But until that happens, I'll just be waiting.
Hey Nana, that summer you longed for more than anyone? The one we couldn't get back? Well, it's here now. I'll always be waiting. For 10 years, 20 years, 50 years.